to another tactical fly fisher fly tying tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at Perdigon, which is the first in a series of tutorials I'm going to be doing for the flies that we used at the World Championships in Spain this year. This pattern comes from my teammate Cody Bergdorf. It's a really super simple olive Perdigon. He used it during practice and caught lots of fish on it, and then in his first session on the Narcea River and throughout the rest of the championship, it was a really important fly for him. He likes it with the black bead. I tend to tie it with a copper bead myself, but we'll use the black nickel that he likes in this tutorial. It's a great pattern for just a really simple, drab, imitative mayfly nymph. Whenever Baetis or blueing olives are hatching, it's a great pattern for that. Or if you just have picky fish that don't like flash, don't like glitzy patterns, then this is a great one to try. I tie it typically in sizes 18 through 20, and you can put even some oversized beads on it if you still need to get down. I know Cody does that a lot. Let me just share a quick story about this fly that I thought was kind of funny. Earlier this year, we had a team practice to get together and fish before we went to the World Championship. And we were fishing a famous river in Utah. And I was fishing a stretcher river that another pair of my teammates had fished in the morning. And I saw a fish rise up against a cliff. And so I grabbed my dry fly rod and I went over there and worked on it for a bit, and I ended up catching it. And when I caught it, lo and behold, there was this simple drab olive Perdigon in it. I knew right away that it was probably one of my teammates' flies and not a store-bought shop fly. So that afternoon, I stuck it in my fly patch and I brought it back, and I shopped around for who had lost a fly that day, and sure enough, it was Cody's Perdigon that he'd broken off in that fish that morning. So clearly it catches fish well, especially in hardfish tailwaters like the one that we were fishing that day, or in Spanish rivers in Asturias where the fish are notoriously picky. So come along, learn this simple olive Perdigon. It'll only take you a minute or two to tie, and you can crank them out by the dozens over the winter so that you're ready when those Baetis hatches come around next spring. Let's start tying this simple olive Perdigon. This is the finished fly that you can see right here. Very, very simple, as you're going to see. We're going to start out with a Dohiku 303 nymph hook. And Cody likes this black nickel bead, so we're going to start with the black nickel bead, though I have tied this fly with copper and done just fine as well. In fact, during the World Championships, I probably fished this more with the copper bead than I did the black nickel. We have some light olive Vivus body quills here, and it looks really light on the spool, but once you put some resin on it and layer it up, it will darken up, and you can kind of almost consider it a medium olive once the fly is tied. If you have really dark colored small bluing olives or Baetis mayflies in your local streams, then you may want to use the darker olive color of this body quill, but the ones that we used in Spain were on this light olive color. And I've got some coq de leon here. I'm just going to take 3 fibers. All right, I'm going to measure these fibers about the length of the hook shank and transfer them over to my thumb and my index finger. Give the body quill just a quick spin so that it tightens up a little bit. And then while I'm holding those fibers above the shank, I slide that body quill, or acting like thread in this case, in between my fingers, pinch it, go around the shank of the hook below and then back up, and then I let it slip through my fingers, and that'll lock that first wrap down so that the fibers are in line with the shank. And then I'm just going to start wrapping. Trim the body quill or the coq de leon fibers off, and then I'm just going to make sure that my slotted bead here has the slot facing down. If you were using an inverting bead, it would already be glued in place. But I want that slot facing toward the hook point here so that it's offset just a little bit. It props the bead up, and that makes it so 2 things happen. Number one, the fly can invert somewhat that way. Sometimes it's just enough offset in the weight that it'll flip upside down. And it also makes it so that your resin when you put that on, the wing case resin doesn't sink into the slot if it's facing up. So now we're just going to do basically a 2-turn whip finish. You don't want to do any more than that because this body quills will get caught if you do more than 2 turns. And then we're going to take some black resin here, some UV Craft black resin, and whenever I apply resin, I always wipe it around the inside of the top of the bottle to get the excess off. Then when you're doing the black especially, you want to come in and stabilize the brush with your left hand so that you're really careful about how you put that on. Take my infinity light here and hit that, and then if I want to add just a little bit more, a lot of times the first little coat of the black kind of sinks in and doesn't build up on top. So if you do a double coat just like that, you'll get that nice wing case. And yes, if I want this fly to invert, you might think that the wing case is upside down, but I wrote a blog on that a few years back. So if you're wondering why I did that, go on the Tactical Fly Fisher blog and you can see my reasoning for still having the wing case up top, even if the fly is inverted. Now I'm just taking clear resin. This is clear UV Craft. And I'm gonna make sure I get everything covered, but try not to get into that coq de leon. If you get into the base of those coq de leon fibers and hit it with the resin, it can make them a little bit brittle. And my taper is not perfect there. I've got just a little bit of a swale in the center there, just a little dip. So I'm going to add just a little bit more to smooth that out. And that is it. That is the finished simple olive Perdigon that both my teammates Cody and Sean seem to be fishing simultaneously, even without knowing it, back when I first saw them fish it. And this worked really well on some of the rivers in Spain at the World Championship this year, and I'm sure it will for you just about anywhere. This is a great pattern if you've got fish that like drab flies, because there's nothing to spook them. There's really nothing flashy or overly attractive about it, so it's a great imitative pattern during hatches or in clear water and with spooky fish. Thanks for watching this tying tutorial. If you need any of the materials for this fly, you can find them on our blog. There's a link for the recipe and products in the video description below, so make sure to check that out. So all those materials, the very few of them that are in this fly, are available at tacticalflyfisher.com. Any of that other fly tying or fly fishing gear that you need, come on over to tacticalflyfisher.com as well, and we'll help you out. If you like this video, please give it that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and drop us a comment on any other patterns that you might want to see or any questions that you have. Thanks for watching, happy tying, and happy fishing.